The audio should be going out yet, but this time I'm going to make sure we're actually broadcasting. And there we go.
Makes sense.
There's the red
Audio
live
should be
button
going
I
out
like to
yet.
see. But this time I'm going to make sure we're actually broadcasting. Oh, and that made for a really... Okay, one sec.
The cabin.
Cabin in the woods.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
or something.
Yeah, it's funny. Our other dog, whose name is Pippin, he was originally named Howie, and that was the dumbest name ever. So we changed it to Pippin, and he has embodied that at every chance he can get. Steals food all the time.
Or something.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting that
funny,
my
our other
floor
dog,
is
whose
not
name is
even
Pippin,
in my computer room. So when
he
I
was
sit
originally named Howie, and that
cross-legged,
was the
I
dumbest
roll away
name
from
ever.
the computer.
And we're live. So, welcome everyone to our third session streamed, second session of the real campaign, and most likely to the conclusion of our introductory operation, Last Things Last. Now, because we had a technical issue, namely I forgot to press a button last week, we will be having an extended recap of last session, about 90% of which lives only in myself and the other players' memories. So, just to rewind and let everyone know how we got to this isolated cabin up in the foothills of the Rockies. We started, again, this is 1992. We are starting with our agents being called one by one into a meeting at the large U.S. Postal Service sorting facility in eastern Denver. We had 3 agents called up as part of a newly formed J cell of Delta Green. Their handler basically showed them the ropes a little bit in a very nondescript, small beige meeting room in the back of this Postal Service sorting facility. Our agents arrived one at a time, starting off with our perpetual early riser, person who likes to show up early, or at least is trained by the Army to do so. Mike, why don't you tell us about Jeb slash Eli Yoder?
Yeah, so Eli grew up in an Amish community in rural Pennsylvania. And as most Amish kids do, when you hit the mid to late teens, you go on the Rumspringer, and which I'm never sure I could pronounce that right, so I apologize if any ex-Amish kids are listening to this in the future and I butcher the Pennsylvania Dutch language. I've lived out near that country my whole life, except for the last 10, but I never got a handle on it. Anyway, so when he went on his Rumspringer, he ended up meeting a girl who was also on hers, and many times, as far as, from what I gathered, a lot of them form little communities when they decide that they're not sure they're going to go back. And he fell in love with her. They got together, as it were, and she became pregnant. Not knowing what else to do when you come out of a community that's not traditional, one of the paths he decided to go, which is against a great deal of his beliefs and upbringing, was to join the U.S. Army. Most Amish get a pass, even on drafts, because of conscientious objectors, but he decided to go anyway, became a combat medic, and ended up going to Operation Desert Storm. And during Operation Desert Storm, he had 2 events that were key to his mental state. One of which was his lady love, as it were, decided to return home to the community. And
Oh
once
man,
you
that's
go
rough.
back, you don't get contact with people on the outside. So he has no way of knowing if she had the child or not. So he doesn't know if he has a kid. Second is, while they were pursuing enemy forces into the oil fields when they were when they were set on fire. If anyone listening to this remembers the Gulf War and all the huge Kuwait oil fires, his unit saw something walk out of those fires, and it hurt and killed a lot of people. To this day, he's not sure what he saw. He was not able to save really anyone. Some people he was able to patch up and they got sent back, but none of them have emerged with either their sanity intact or memories intact. So, and that was following that event is when he was tapped by Delta Green, and having no community to call home anymore, or a girl to be his bedrock as it was before. He has thrown himself wholeheartedly into the Delta Green mission, and that's Eli, also known now as Jebediah, because he asked to be a J name, and that's the first name he thought of.
Yeah, well, and just for straight like biometrics,
Yes.
I've got his sheet up for our viewers to see some of this stuff. But he's pretty young, right? And
Yes.
kind of. I mean, you've got some art. Not all of our characters do yet, but
Yes. Eli is 22 years old. He really went into the army really young. He was 17, 18 years old. Passed basic and C school. And so he was about, I think he was 21 during the Kuwait. So he's only maybe less than a year after that action. So he's pretty young.
excellent. Yeah, so he was the first to show up. Was greeted by your new handler, and told about, he was already familiar with the existence of Delta Green, had been prepared for some of the things that would happen with this organization. But as the others arrived, your handler let you know that for J-Cell's very first operation, you would be sent to clean up what was left behind in the life of a former Delta Green agent, a man by the name of Clyde Baughman, who had worked for a few years for Delta Green in apparently a very intense sequence of 11 operations over the course of only 3 years. Back in about 67 to 1970. He did some things in Southeast Asia. And then when he got back from that, he worked for a good amount of time at the IRS. You were given info packets on him. A very basic dossier giving, his date of birth, some info about his family. He had a wife, Marlene, who died several years ago of cancer, unfortunately. A daughter, Sharon, living on the East Coast. A son, Michael, who only 18 at this point, has very recently graduated from, where was it, RIT?
That's correct.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about Michael, a.k.a. Max Baughman.
Michael, a.k.a. Max Baughman, is very smart, very not complicated kid. He very smart father, very smart mother. The mother just passed away 4-ish years ago, I think, 3 maybe. Yeah, like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, just about 4 years.
Yeah. Max figuring out that he was a little bit smarter than the average, like, 10th grader. They had him tested, and he got to advance very quickly through the rest of high school and went to Rochester Institute of Technology and graduated by the time he was 18. During that time, after his mother passed away, his dad moved to Denver. And when Max graduated, he kind of... What's in between Chicago and Denver? Where could that be?
Oh, man. Between Chicago and Denver is a whole lot of flat farmland. Not that I'm any kind of expert in that part of the area.
No.
But yeah, there are certainly plenty of communities out in, like, western Illinois. And let me see what else is out there that he might have... I don't know, maybe he was spending some time in St. Louis or one of the smaller, Illinois or Iowa.
Yeah, he might actually be moved around because he works for Radio Shack now, so they might move him.
Yeah.
He was at a science fiction convention in Chicago when he heard that his father had passed away. So he had driven home to take care of that.
Yeah, and he showed up a little bit early.
Yeah.
Compared to what Delta Green was expecting.
Yeah, he had talked to his sister and kind of wanted to meet her there to kind of help out, with that part, since he kind of wasn't really there after his mom had passed away. Dad kind of crumbled in on himself a little bit, and when he got home, he found I'm probably going to guess, as a very handsome gentleman, Mr. Jasmine, tried to stop him at the front door, and he was just a little bit quicker. Got around him and found that these people were in his dad's apartment, trying to figure out what he did.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us a little bit about, again, kind of biometrics. What do you think he looks like? I mean, he's very young, for sure.
Young, wiry, probably like 5'8"-ish. Not athletic, but not bad. Working for the Radio Shack, and maybe he was on the rowing team at RIT. It's pretty big up there. Mm-hmm. But other than that, he was just kind of into building stuff, and now he just works in the back room at Radio Shack.
And of course, he shows up to this Delta Green investigation wearing this t-shirt.
Oh, yeah. And the Japanese minivan.
Yep. Yeah. So he drove up in one of these fun little Nissan minivans.
That Mr. Jasmine promptly removed the distributor cap from.
Yes.
With my emphasis on dying in every campaign, I'm going to stand right next to Mr. Jasmine as much as I can.
Yeah, well, and this kind of brings us to some of the results of what our agents found, but I want to go and take a quick step back to what their actual mission is here, which is to, again, they're just meant to check into this Clyde Baughman after his death, which, as far as anybody can tell, including Delta Green, seems to be a truly natural, if distinctly tragic, death at a reasonably young age. But their handler let them know that they should go to his residence, a little 2-story apartment complex not too far away in eastern Denver, to search it for any evidence of Delta Green's activities. They let him know, let the agents know that his heirs were expected within 48 hours, so they're on a clock for any of this sort of investigation. And that they should meet again within 2 days. And of course, as usual with Delta Green, and, well, I shouldn't say as usual because none of these agents are experienced in it. But their handler re-emphasized to them one of the core tenets of Delta Green, which is that containment is everything. It's not about finding out what really happened. It's not about saving the day. It's about making sure that not too many Americans have to have their lives overturned by the knowledge that the unnatural is out there. And so, the handler dispatched our 3 agents, including Jeb, a.k.a. Eli Yoder, a.k.a. Amish, along with 2 others. One harvested from the rapid changes going on at the CIA, and brought in on a domestic case, which is completely outside what he was trained for. Why don't you tell us about Kurt Becker?
Kurt Becker is 29 years old. He works for the company, aka the CIA. Was a Foreign Service officer, beginning his career, getting off to a good start in East Germany just in time for the wall to come down and his career path to crumble down along with the wall. He was an army brat, stern, difficult dad that he swore he wouldn't be like, but he's very like him. He's very stern. He picked up some of his dad's hard ass for sure. He was in the Colorado area doing some background checks, high-level background checks, and a little bit of recruiting. One does not apply to the CIA. One is approached by the CIA. You don't apply to it, you are approached by it. So he was doing a little work there and got the call. He's a man, he's a Cold Warrior without a Cold War. He's trying to figure out his career path. He doesn't have connections. He doesn't have money. Doesn't have a family name. So, the plum spots that his colleagues got were not really available to him. And his personal life isn't so hot because he is divorced from Katrina Ackerman, German national, who he met and married when he was overseas. That's not so hot. He's got a condo in Northern Virginia that's basically a glorified storage shed. He's not home very much, and half of his boxes have never been unpacked. He's a very capable person. He's, fairly fluent in Russian and German. But he's got some rough edges, and he's got some anger, and he's got some frustration. He He's 29, but he looks 35. But he's one of those people that he's looked 35 for the last 10 years. He just has some deep lines and some deep wrinkles, and he can furrow his brow like nobody can furrow their brow. So he's got, certainly people skills and interpersonal skills, but he has the look of somebody that has had a rough week. And he looks like he has had a rough week every day. Often because he has had a rough week. His previous exposure to Delta Green was in East Germany. He was never found out quite exactly everything that was going on, but got looped in when some of the sources that he had or was working began disappearing. And it looked like the Stasi, but except he found out that, some of the Stasi were disappearing too, and in his work with Delta Green, limited work he did with them previously, he came to realize that there are far worse things in the universe than the East German secret police. So he's a little untethered at the moment, a little rudderless. He doesn't have a career path. His personal life is a shambles. He looks worn out because he kind of is, and yeah. But he's a very mission-oriented person, and he does want, to be kind of in this broad lane. So when the call from Delta Green comes, okay. And he's just kind of a no-nonsense. He's not an asshole, but he's a very no-nonsense person. His sense of humor is not the best, and when he has, it can be a little harsh and a little dry when he does exhibit some humor. He's not the person you call at the end of a tough day to go have a drink with. He is not interested in listening to your bullshit.
Yeah,
That's
and
Kurt Becker in a nutshell.
Absolutely, and he very quickly displayed this when Max showed up to his father's apartment, just as Kurt, aka Mr. Jasmine, was in the process of looking through Clyde Baughman's mail, just looking for any signs of, again, any information or clues as to Delta Green's activities that he was not supposed to have kept. There was a very brief and very polite scuffle as Max pushed his way past Kurt, who had already been looking through Clyde Baughman's home for a few minutes at this point. And Max made his way up to the apartment to find, again, 3 people going through this place. Jeb and Mr. Jasmine, and of course Jennifer, who was called in on this because she is very capable of looking into the darker sides of people. She was called in from her psychiatric practice in Denver, where particularly in order to take a look at Clyde Baughman from a more psychological and analytical viewpoint. And as Max was showing up, she was going through papers. She was going through what was left of Clyde Baughman's life. And, I mean, there wasn't a lot to see in this apartment. It was a grim little place, 2-bedroom apartment in a working-class neighborhood, 60s architecture, and on a quiet street with an elderly neighbor downstairs who had a few talks with the agents as she was walking her little Yorkshire Terrier, Mitzi. But anyway, looking into what Clyde Baughman had left behind, it was fairly grim. It was very clear that this was a man in the process of going from middle age to truly aging. Not eating well, not exercising, not doing much at all. Very few signs of humanity about his apartment. He didn't decorate anything. He didn't unpack much of anything aside from a few keepsakes from his grandchildren, particularly a picture drawn by his granddaughter Cassie that was up on his fridge when the group started going through his things. And aside from a few things sent to him by, his granddaughter, most of what was in his apartment was just official documents from his job at the IRS. Nothing turned out to lead back to Delta Green whatsoever, except that the agents found that he had a key on a key ring labeled as cabin. And as they went through his documents, they found that he owns a small cabin up in the foothills of the Rockies. And it turned out that his son Max didn't know about this. None of his family knew about this cabin. And that, of course, sets off alarm bells and sent the agents deciding on how to look into this. So they had a rest. And to introduce our final agent, let's jump back into the story properly. You had decided to meet up at this cabin the following day just to take a look. Mr. Jasmine headed up in his car and just staked the place out just to see if there was any activity. So he had a long, cold night up there. And don't let me forget to have you make a roll about that. But as the other three of you are meeting up the next morning to carpool up to the cabin, I think you had agreed to bring Max along if you wanted to. And this leaves Max and Jeb and Jennifer to meet up for the drive into the foothills. And we'll, just for the hell of it, we'll say Jennifer is driving and is the one to pick the other two up.
She's a very safe driver.
Oh, absolutely. And, probably picking up Jeb first from his probably Motel 6. Delta Green, at this point in history, doesn't have much of an expense account, so he's probably living on the cheap.
I like to point out that they spent my money. So
yes.
They didn't expend anything. I did.
Yeah,
For them.
Delta Green made a reservation for a rental car for him. They didn't pay for it. They just made the reservation for him.
Yeah, they left me with a couple of bills already. That's
but
right.
yeah, as Jennifer wakes up in the morning and gets ready and starts driving from place to place to pick up Jeb and Max. Tell us about her.
Okay. She is a clinical psychologist and licensed social worker. I've already shared that she is a very safe driver. Some, like, personal things about her, like, what is her vibe, is that she is just, like, so healthy. Like, such a nice lady. She still, after everything that she's seen, believes in people. The way that she got involved with Delta Green is that she was seeing a patient who kind of like let them some things about his background in Delta Green slip to me, and Delta Green decided that I either had to join, or to join Delta Green or to be dead. And because it's kind of like a I'll tell you, but then I have to kill you sort of thing. So she decided that she could, like, retain some of her clients from Delta Green, maybe the ones that are especially near to mentally and emotionally breaking. So while she hasn't really been out in the field, she does know a lot about some of the things that other Delta Green agents have seen. And yet, she still has all of this faith in people, and, like, she is a true believer in people. When facing cosmic horror, they turn to focus on protecting people, because people are, like, the most important thing. She finds the joy in little things, like she has a, like, tiny plastic, like Gumby? Like Gumby keychain on her keys. She wears, like, little bows in her hair. She enjoys smelling new and interesting smells. Loves music, loves food, loves to dance, cooks for their friends every Sunday. It's kind of like, the way that I'm thinking about it is that she has like 101 rituals to help her maintain her resilience in the face of everything that she has to know as a therapist for Delta Green agents. And I think that's most of the things about her. I guess I could throw in there that... Oh, hold on a second. Sorry. I hit something weird on my computer. Anyway, she has some bonds. Like, she has her own therapist that she talks to. And it is kind of a weird time because she can't tell that therapist about anything Delta Green related. She has an aging parent that she likes to get advice from, and there's a story that no one besides her, like, coworkers really knows very much about, is that she once had a patient that she could not help, and she has a deep-seated guilt in her about that. And while she is working on that, it is interesting that she chose that to be the person who she most often writes letters to. She does this is one of her rituals, is that whenever she is feeling big emotions or has a lot of things to work out, she will write a letter to somebody, and she is often writing that letter to the failed patient of hers. And none of the letters are ever sent or received. She just needed to write them out.
Amazing. Yeah, and she's like you said, she's a very safe driver as she pulls up in front of a Motel 6 to pick up Agent Jeb. She is the elder of the crew, at all of 32 years old.
We're just a bunch of babies.
Just a bunch of babies. It's almost like I had you create characters meant for a campaign to stretch 30 years.
Yeah.
But, so she pulls up in front of this Motel 6 to pick up Jeb, and then heads back to the Baughman house to pick up Max. Because when it comes down to it, if you don't bring him along, he's going to become a witness and a potential liability. And so after having picked everyone up, you begin the 2-hour drive up into the Rockies. Through the city, there is a light dusting of snow beginning to fall. And of course, as you head up in elevation, the snow only gets heavier. You picked everyone up early, so it's probably only 8:30 or 9 in the morning when you finally pull up in front of Clyde Baughman's secret cabin. It's really out there. It's really hidden in this tiny, out-of-the-way little town in the foothills. Where did I decide that was? Anyway, I'm sure I gave you... Nederland. This little cabin is in the small foothill town of Nederland, Colorado. And as you drive into the trees in the hills north of town, there's a dusting of snow over everything. Up at this elevation, all the leaves have fallen and have really begun to lose that early fall color. And as you approach the address that you found among Baughman's papers, you also see Mr. Jasmine's rental car, probably running with Mr. Jasmine, doing the classic stakeout thing where you try to sleep in a car, but it doesn't work until like 8:30. So probably just having a quick, exhausted little sleep. And this is the thing I wanted to get a roll from you about for Kurt Becker, aka Mr. Jasmine. I would like you to roll your straight constitution just to see how well he has weathered an uncomfortable night. Right. An 89 over 55. You're going to go ahead and lose one point of willpower just from the general exhaustion. And does he... what is his sleep deprivation solution of choice? Does he get does he go for gas station coffee? Does he go for cigarettes? Does he go for caffeine pills or something stronger? Or does he just try to raw dog it?
No, he's 100% gas station coffee, but he has an ample supply of no-dos for when the coffee is not available or when he needs caffeine pills and coffee together at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There was not enough gas station coffee. Everything in Nederland, Colorado closes early. He was lucky just to be able to top off the gas tank so he could turn the car on periodically, get some heat. So he's just been kind of chowing down on stakeout food, a bunch of Slim Jims, some chips, some No-Dose pills, Pepsi, which he hates, but they didn't sell Coke at that place, or Dr. Pepper. And he's sitting there, and he's thinking back to, it's like, I could have gotten a full-size car. Like, but I got the Tempo. He didn't want it. That full-size would have paid extra. It would have been money out of his pocket. He didn't really care. He's like, it's not like I'm going to be sleeping in this thing. How wrong he was. So, note to self, get the full-size car next time. And as he sees the other vehicle roll up, he gets out of his, kind of works some of the kinks out, gives him his back a big stretch, and walks towards the group and says, I don't suppose any of you brought some coffee with you.
Did we stop somewhere for coffee? Because despite the fact that caffeine is not necessarily something that Eli would have grown up drinking, the moment he left the community, he started drinking coffee and is now hooked on it. So I imagine that, like any soldier that has to sit at any kind of outpost or stand watch or work long nights in an aid station, he would have been like, hey, can we stop at that Dunkin' Donuts on the way, like, and just get the biggest coffee he could think of. And he's used to having to bring coffee for his unit commander, so I imagine he would have brought some, unless anybody objects to this plan.
Nope, of course not.
Nope, all good with me.
I am slowly taking on the role of Denozo in this NCIS episode.
Yeah, so you get out of the car, fortunately, with an extra tall. Probably, I don't know, what coffee would you have ordered, not knowing anything about Kurt Becker?
It would have
gone
been
for
black.
a tall black.
We would have gotten a black coffee, and I would have gotten some cream on the side, because if we went to Dunkin', they only serve table cream, and sugar packets, and also non-sugar packets for the people who are weird and don't use real sugar.
Yeah. Yeah,
I come prepared.
Just a fistful of white and pink packets and a couple of like capsules of shelf-stable cream, and you step out of Agent Jennifer's car with in this weather, it is still steaming. Tall black coffee for Becker.
And everyone else who wants one. Even the new kid. So we've got, got a holder. Maybe they were like, do you want a box of Joe? Maybe I would have gone for that. I would have brought a box of Joe.
Nice.
Which is just like a box of coffee, which is better than nothing, and cups. It's easier to carry that way.
Yeah, well, and the last time you went through Clyde Baughman's stuff, you had to sit there for 4 hours just going through paper after paper. And
it was awful. It was like work.
Exactly. It was terrible, and there's no reason to think that won't happen up in this cabin as well. It could even be worse. So
yeah,
you come with a nice box of coffee just in case. Maybe a box of donuts to go along with it.
Sure.
And You get out, you stretch after the long, winding drive. This is the sort of drive that is absolute hell in the backseat of any car, even one that's being driven as safely and carefully as Agent Jennifer does. But, you all get out and stretch. The air is very brisk and cold, even though it is warming up. It's a solid, 18, 19 degrees Fahrenheit up here. And as you stretch and look around the area, there's not much to Nederland. Not much to it at all, and you have driven out of the center of town, such as it is. And this cabin, you could convince yourselves that this is the cabin in the woods from the Evil Dead. This is, an isolated cabin at the end of a road, and there's some areas of it that are not covered with lawn exactly, but a thick covering of fallen pine needles and fallen oak leaves, and with a layer of snow over that. The yard and the driveway up to it look like a pristine blanket of white. And you can see a little bit of topography to it. Over there it looks like there's a little bit of a hole, and over here there's some rocks that were kind of put up to keep people from driving their cars into the side of the cabin. But for the most part, there's not much to see. The cabin is dark. There's no sign of smoke from the chimney. No sign of recent habitation of any kind. The only tracks in the fresh fallen snow clearly come from rabbits that were running around earlier in the morning and looking for food before having a long sleep for the winter. And so as you get out and you take this first look, it's a very nice place. You could see exactly why somebody would want a cabin up here. It's exceptionally quiet. But as you head up the walk through the snow, and up to the front door, you open it with the labeled key that you took from Baughman's apartment. And you swing the front door open on ever so slightly squealing hinges. It's one story. As the door opens, it opens into a small living room and a kitchen. In fact, his apartment may actually be bigger than this cabin. And the layout is surprisingly similar. The building's construction has this faux log cabin exterior, but on the inside you can see that it's drywall and plaster and the usuals. You flip a light switch and lights come on. You turn on a tap and you hear there's a moment of gurgling, and then you hear a pump somewhere kick on and water starts to flow. And even a cursory inspection, just looking around at the door, seeing if there are any muddy or wet tracks or signs that anyone with muddy shoes has come in anytime recently. It is very clear that no one has been here for at least 2 months, particularly by the large pile of mail that has accumulated in front of the door. There's just a simple mail slot through the front door.
So he was getting mail sent here.
He was. But as
And
you look
back at
through,
the apartment too.
the only thing in that mail is, early 90s amounts of junk mail. It's menus from the one restaurant in Nederland and another one from nearby. It's utility bills, stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay, that's less of a big deal.
Yeah. Do we want to take a cursory look around the outside of the place? I'm kind of curious if he left anything. I know we drove up and didn't see anything that was weird, but like if he was paranoid about something, I wonder if we could find some like cursory
Booby traps.
Yeah, but like things that more alert him that somebody was around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Jeb would be doing a quick perimeter walk, maybe while some of the others head inside. There's no fence up or anything to distinguish, the yard from the forest in general, or the property line from any other cabin's property. There's a wood pile out back. There is an outhouse and a shed. Does Amish have any skill in forensics? Not super likely.
I was gonna say, is the people in general probably, but me, that's a good question. No, I have a 0 ability to determine forensics.
Okay. Yeah,
blood is blood, and it should be on the inside of the body, as far
exactly.
as I know.
And his job is to keep it inside.
Yeah, or as much of it as I can.
Yeah, so he's looking around, and it looks like any rustic living situation. The outhouse does seem functional. And I think, from his background, he might get the idea that it doesn't smell as much as it could if it was in constant use.
So the wood splitting obviously wasn't fresh, right? They haven't.
Yeah, definitely not.
And no one's been here in a while.
Yeah. And snow has drifted over it. You get the sense that wood pile wasn't even good for much. It doesn't look like Baughman was having many fires or was planning to depend on that for heating. And looking around the outside, you stick your head in the shed briefly, and there's an assortment of tools that probably came with the cabin, as well as 20 1-gallon cans of gasoline, all full. There is, of course, a rusty old generator against the back of the house.
Okay.
Makes some sense.
Yeah, I want to stomp on all of the what is the floor like wood?
Yeah, the shed is it looks like it was purchased from some catalog, and then kind of a prefab thing, and there's it's got just a slab wooden floor. Seems like it's in decent shape, but it's probably 20 years old or so. Probably older than Baughman's ownership of this cabin.
Just gonna do a quick cursory stomp around to see if anything feels loose.
Yeah, not really.
Okay, because I know if I was a paranoid Delta Green agent, I'd you always bury things under the floorboards, right? That's what you do. At least the one detective novel I was allowed to read. Actually, I was not allowed to read detective novels. That's unless I snuck into town. On my, could walk there out in good old Intercourse, PA. Real place, by the way.
That's a real town.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
such
I
a real
actually have a trivet from that town, like a gift shop trivet from that town that my grandma had and passed down to me.
town. Grandma, woo!
She was just real big into Intercourse, PA. So, another fun fact is right before Intercourse, PA is Blue Ball, Pennsylvania. So I don't know who. Yes, I swear to God, I don't know why, but those are the towns out near Lancaster. I spent a good deal of my time as a kid being out in that area. I don't know why, but they're happening.
You also have to check out Virginville, Pennsylvania.
Yep. Virginville and other. I don't know if that one's real, but
No, it's real.
Yep, that doesn't shock. That's like I bought that hook, line, and sinker immediately. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a thing.
It is.
Anyway.
Well,
so,
I mean, I lived outside of Virgin, Utah, so.
Well, I mean,
But you kind of expect these things from Utah.
yeah, like Soakville, I'm sure is out there as well.
No!
If not, it will be soon.
Yep, will be soon. Notable Mormonism. Anyway, so I check out the shed, and then I'm just gonna quickly check the outhouse as well.
Yeah.
And I'm curious if like this is a functional outhouse and he doesn't have indoor toiletries, or this is just.
It is a functional outhouse. There is running water inside the house, but it's just a simple well. The outhouse does seem used, but not recently. It's frozen solid.
Okay, it doesn't even have that chemical smell.
No, and it looks like it's seldom used, but it probably hasn't been used for a couple of months.
Any electricity run out to this thing?
No electricity. There is a flashlight on a shelf in the shed.
Next to a knife, I'm sure.
Yeah. For when you're groping around in the dark. You
Clearly.
Just slap your hand down and hope that it's the flashlight and not the rusty knife.
Not the rusty knife.
But yeah, you ensure that there's no loose floorboards in either of the outbuildings. You kick the cans of gasoline. You find that they're all full to the top. It doesn't look like any of the gas has been used. In fact, you would be doubtful that generator works at all.
Okay. I'm gonna grab the flashlight, by the way, because that could be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. You grab the flashlight, you flip it, and it's a little dim, but you figure those batteries are below freezing, so they're not going to put out power very quick. But it's working, and it looks like Baughman had that there for a reason. And then as you walk around the yard some more, the other thing that you would note is that about 10 yards from the house, over by the edge of the woods, there is just a little topography to an otherwise fairly gently sloping yard. There is a pit, a shallow pit, and at the bottom of it you can see that there's actually a hatch, very visibly a septic tank hatch. It's one of those plastic septic tanks. It's got the manufacturer stamped into the hatch. These sorts of things are usually buried. I'm
well versed in septic tanks where I live. So these are usually screwed on. But does this one have is this cap screwed down?
It is.
Okay.
And yeah, it is at the bottom of a slight pit. There's a mound of dirt nearby, and you can tell that, there's been grass growing on that little mound of dirt. It looks like this thing has been dug up for a while.
Okay.
And those lids screw in, and somebody has taken a power drill and has drilled through the lip and through the lid, so that there's a fairly thick hole that lines up, and they have shoved a padlock through it.
Well, that's interesting. Why would you want to padlock a... Okay, I'm going to make note of that. And inform the rest when I get back inside. But I haven't spotted nothing like no tripwires, no hanging cans.
No sign of anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You would definitely note that. Well, I mean, the other really weird thing is, this septic tank is nowhere near the outhouse, and also that outhouse has been used in the last several years.
A pit. Yeah.
So why would you have an outhouse and a septic tank? Why would you have a septic tank at all if you don't have a toilet with running water?
Right. Oh, I haven't been in the house, so I don't realize there's nothing inside the house yet. But I will come to that conclusion soon, I'm sure. Now, unless it's holding gray water from sinks or whatever. But,
right, exactly.
But yeah, unless he runs that to a dry well or whatever. Okay.
So you spend a few minutes kind of kicking around outside and do find some interesting things that don't exactly fit. As the rest of you have made your way into the cabin itself, Max, Mr. Jasmine, and Jennifer, what are each of you most interested in? What are you looking around for in this place?
I think that Jennifer is looking around for any personal effects, sentimental items. I am also interested in how much, defensive or, paranoid looking things are around.
You mean other than Kurt Becker?
Yeah. And I'm also looking at, how does he take care of himself when he's here? Is there, what is the toilet paper situation in the in the outhouse?
Yeah. And
what is the shower like? And is there extra bottles of soap under the kitchen sink or something like that? So personal items and how are they living?
Mm-hmm. And like with the apartment, it's not well. It's very quiet in here. There's no clock. There's no decorations on the walls. There's a few cobwebs up in the corners, mouse traps strewn about on the floor. The furniture consists of a table, 2 chairs, an old sofa against a wall. There is basically a kitchen and a living room that are separated from each other by a difference in flooring type. There's linoleum down in the kitchen, and there's very beat up hardwood for the rest of the cabin. And the kitchen makes up a good third of the entire floor area, the living room and another third. And then there's several other smaller rooms with, a fair-sized closet, a bathroom in which the toilet is covered with a black plastic trash bag. No shower at all. The kitchen sink is the only sink. There is a water heater in the back of the closet. And you take note that other than the water coming in from the well or wherever is being pumped into the water heater, and that's being sent to the sink. But where the pipes would branch to send water to the bathroom, to the toilet, the pipes have been disconnected. And the pipe leading to the bathroom is just hanging. There's even a little bit of water damage where some amateur plumbing has led to some long-term leakage.
So it seems like, for one, he's probably not staying here for long periods at a time.
Definitely not.
Yeah, and I kind of come in through the front door and be like, well, there's a septic tank outside. It's got a padlock on it. I think he might be storing something down there because padlock a septic tank, as far as I know. Is there a bathroom in here? And this is probably where, let me know it's cut off, right?
Yeah, you take a look, and it's very clear that, this place was set up to have some kind of a septic system, but it's currently disconnected.
Yeah, if he's doing his business, it's outside there. There's an outhouse that's been clearly used, but no, this ain't connected to a septic tank. I don't know what's going down there. Is there... What... Did we have any other keys? I'm gonna look over at Max. Be like, you know anything about? Have you been up here before?
I didn't even know this place existed.
Okay.
And there are no personal effects from Clyde Baughman. There's nothing that Max would recognize. No framed photos. Nothing from Cassie. Except one thing that you recognize. When Max was growing up, his dad had this old footlocker from the times when he told stories about when he used to travel for work, and he used to have this old footlocker. It's a Vietnam era, and Max knows that his dad actually got it from a military surplus store.
Gotcha.
Like early mid 80s. And you hadn't seen it for years and years. But it's just sitting, the couch against the wall looks like the only place that anyone would sleep here. There is a blanket that is certainly not up to the task of a Colorado, Rocky Mountain winter. That's just sort of wadded up against one side of the couch. There's a pillow there, and sort of sandwiched in between the wall and the armrest is this footlocker where one would have to actually pull it out physically to even open the lid.
Yeah, Max would say, there's nothing in here that says anything that my dad would even have ever been here. And then he sees the footlocker and goes, holy shit, I haven't seen that thing in years.
What do you keep in there?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get in there.
I don't know what he kept in there. I knew, I know he's had it for a while, and
I'm gonna.
forgot he even had it.
While those two are talking, I'm gonna go over to Mr. Jasmine. I mean, those septic tanks are like a couple 100 gallons. They can store a lot of things in there.
First thing that Kurt would have done when going in and assessing that the cabin was clear would be to start a fire. Now, is a fireplace or a wood stove in the cabin?
Yeah, fireplace.
He would start a rip-roaring fire. Said, it's pretty cold. I had a cold night. Let's warm this place up. That's actually his secondary reason. What his main reason for doing it, he's not going to state it, is he figures we have documents to burn.
Yep.
So,
You probably used your list of objectives as some of the first kindling for this fire.
definitely. And some of the junk mail that piled up, and would it be? I mean, I think it's fairly safe the assumption that Kurt would have like a cigarette lighter is just too useful and too prevalent at that time too. It would be something that he has, even though he doesn't smoke. But failing that, I would assume there'd be kitchen matches or something somewhere obvious in the kitchen, in the cabin.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an electric stove with a big box of matches up on top of it, and you figure probably the fireplace does more work in this cabin than that stove ever has. There's no plates in the cabinets. There's no food.
So I imagine that Kurt is in the process of getting that, has gotten the fighter started and is in the process of turning it into a more robust one when he is approached by Amish Jeb, told about the septic tank.
And I don't know if... Well, so above table to the GM, the lock for the cabin, was that a padlock or was that a door lock?
It was a padlock.
Wondering if
just like a cheap master lock.
Yeah, I wonder if that key is going to open up that padlock to the septic tank as well. So I'm thinking
we better
need to
check.
look in there. Yeah, I'm thinking we need to look in there.
Yeah, so maybe you grab the key and go try it on the padlock on the septic tank while Kurt's getting the fire going.
Unless anybody tells me that's a bad idea. No one? Okay.
Seems fine.
What could possibly be in there that's problematic? Yeah, so I'll go out and see if it's going to work on that padlock.
Okay.
For some strange reason, the weird hairs on Max's neck are starting to stand up.
Yeah.
Because it's almost dying time.
Well, and it doesn't get any better as Jeb, aka Eli, steps out the door and closes it, and there's the draft of wintry air from outside. This happens about the same time as Max gets that footlocker out from behind the arm of the couch, and pulls out with a clatter. There's no lock on it, although there's a hasp for one. It's creaky and a bit rusted, but you easily undo the hasp and you hinge this footlocker open. You find it mostly empty, but the hairs on the back of your neck stand a bit higher as you recognize two things. First is something I'll put onto the corkboard. And bring to front. There we go. The first is an old black and white photo. And actually, this is a photo that your mom had framed for a long time. It's from the 70s, back when your mom and dad first met, before your dad went and did his travels.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that your mother's eyes have been scratched out on this photo.
A little creepy. Not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
that's not good.
Underneath
That's not a good sign.
Underneath that is a sweater that she used to love. Just wadded up there. To your surprise, there's still a little bit. You can still smell just a hint of her perfume on it. And underneath that are a few other papers, but the first one that catches your attention because it's clearly written in your father's handwriting. He had very neat handwriting. And he has written a note on just the top of a sheet of paper and ripped it off. Just a piece of scratch paper that he found somewhere. Maybe it's the back of a Nederland utility bill. And I'll drop that on your corkboard as well.
I want to take a
Why don't
talk
you,
about the photo.
Yeah, Charlie, why don't you read that for us, if you don't mind?
Yeah. To whom it may concern, if you are reading this note, I can assume I have died or become incapacitated before I had the courage to complete my final mission. You'll find about 20 gallons of gas in the shed behind this cabin. Pour it into the septic tank beside the cabin and ignite it. You'd be happier if you didn't look inside. Please make sure that the remains are kept from my children. I'm so sorry. God, please forgive me. Clyde Baughman.
Awesome.
And we cut to Amish as he steps up to the lid of the septic tank, with the key ring that you got from Bauman's apartment. And you go through the keys, and sure enough, you find the undersized key with a master lock stamped into it.
And
The lock is
Jimmy
cold.
around?
Sorry, say again.
I was just saying, is Jimmy in there? So I'm sure it's got some frozen water
Yeah.
stuff in there.
Yeah, you have to like wipe out some snow and you have to work on it, but and all the springs are cold and kind of seized up, but with a little bit of work, you're able to get the key in there, and with a click, the lock lets loose. You're able to get it out of its hole in the ring of the septic tank. And as you start to unscrew it, you also note that more holes have been drilled in the top. As you start to move it, you disturb the snow and some of it falls in. You can see that A good dozen holes, wide holes, have been drilled into the lid of this septic tank, and as you start to unscrew it,
Hold on. Like, they're drilled into the top?
yes, your mind is brought to the lid of a jar in which, as a child, you kept a butterfly.
Ominous.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, as I, like, you start to screw these, I see all those holes, I'm like...
Can we
Wait
be
a
like
minute.
slow motion ripping around the corner like in the movie screaming, no?
I'm just... Like, what?
And as you begin to unscrew the lid, and you finally get it open,
Damn it, I don't get a choice, do I? This is what I'm doing.
you hear a rasping, croaking voice, as if a voice not often used. A voice of someone who is tired and sick and lonely. You just hear one word. Clyde?
Oh my god.
And
Yeah,
let's go ahead and take a break.
damn it!
So
Oh my god.
No.
we're going to take 15 minutes or so that everyone's dogs can go out, and then we will get back to some difficult discoveries and some difficult choices.
All right.
All right. We are back. And of course, where we left off, Amish Yoder has just opened the hatch to a septic tank where there should be none.
Yep.
And he heard one word from a creaking, throaty voice. Clyde? What does Eli do?
You know that flashlight
Uh-huh.
that I got? I pull that out and shine it down there. Because I don't realize I'm in a Delta Green game.
Exactly.
I know I'm on a mission, but I'm thinking, oh, he stashed somebody down here. That's so good. Well, what kind of a voice is it? I guess it's just really creaky. I probably can't I probably don't know if it's male, female.
It sounded female.
Alright. Ma'am, who? It's not Clyde. Who are you? And it's gonna shine it down in there, see if I see anything.
Yeah, and as you play the beam of light around you, you see that, of course, the septic tank is much larger than necessary for this cabin. It's about 6 feet deep. There is no ladder down to reach inside or anything like that. It's about 10 feet long. The interior is dark. There are about 6 inches of water in the bottom. You hear a crack and a splash, and you bring the beam of the flashlight up toward the opposite end of the septic tank, and you can, in the weak beam with the bright light behind you, it's hard to tell exactly what you're seeing, but the figure is human. The figure seems like a woman, likely in her late 40s, maybe early 50s.
And we're all there, right?
No,
No, just me at the
okay.
moment.
he's alone at the moment.
Yay!
There is a woman in this septic tank. Her feet and legs are blue, and you can see ice has formed a little rim around each of her ankles. The ice cracks as she tries to take a step forward. She is limping badly. She has her arms crossed in front of herself. She says, Who's there? I'm so cold." And as she moves toward you and into the light, you can see she is nude. Blue from the cold. Sores cover her body. She has her hands tightly wrapped around her body, clearly trying to find any amount of warmth possible. As she looks up at you, her face is deeply lined and slack in a way that doesn't seem right to you. There are ragged shreds of hair here and there, but for the most part, it's gone. As she begins to hobble toward you, she reaches a hand out toward you, and you can see, as she says, "Help me, I'm so cold!" And you can see that the tips of her fingers are bone that has been worn away. Her hands are wrinkled, but bluish flesh just barely hangs to the ends of her fingers and to her hands. I need you to make a sanity roll.
Really? That's man, I feel like I do that every day. I'm kidding. So do I just click the sanity point one?
Yes. Yes, the button right that says sanity points.
All right, here we go. Wow, I somehow failed that. 93 over 80.
Wow. Okay. So, as you recognize what you're looking at, I mean, you're a medically trained person, and everything you're seeing, everything about this circumstance is nothing that should be survivable, and you know that in an instant. And as you recognize this, you lose 3 points of sanity immediately as you immediately recognize that this is not a normal living human being. Now, you can, of course, push that off onto a bond if you like. But
yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
Sorry, go.
You certainly don't have to. It's only 3 points. It's not.
Yeah, it's only 3. It's only 3 points. Yeah, and I've got, like I said, I had 80 sanity to start with. So
exactly.
I think I'll just take that to myself. I don't see how I would push that off anyone yet.
Okay.
So Jeb just sort of like falls on his ass, kind of like scrambling away real quick. He's like, it's like she's got. So obviously, it's frostbite. Her fingers aren't black. They should be black. And was she flexing her hands?
Absolutely.
You can't flex your hands with frostbite with there's just bone. She ain't got no blood to the end of the. And he's like half reaching for like the bag he has on his belt. Like he has a little tiny medical pouch that he would carry around. While on the job, as it were. He's like, there's nothing in there, right? There's nothing in there that's gonna help.
Yeah, I mean, you look over your like antiseptic cream and your bandages. And
yeah, my bandages, my the burn salve, and I'm like, none of this is, a
none of
tourniquet
that's
ain't
gonna work on a corpse, and
No,
a corpse is what you just saw.
Right, I just saw a corpse walking, talking, but no, she says, if extremely hydrated with, if you frostbite over 70%, could be 70%, and we'll be walking around.
And as he's trying to pull himself together, he can hear from inside. She says, "Please, whoever you are, I'm so cold. Oh my God, my husband, he was supposed to come back, and he's left me here. Please help."
Boy. So, losing 3 points of sanity should manifest somehow, I imagine.
Absolutely.
Now I don't lose. I don't lose anything. I don't have any temporary insanity until I hit a breaking point, right?
That's right.
Okay, so, all right, I'm just trying to think if anything here. I'm trying to think how I'd react to this, because obviously salvation of life is something he very much cares about, but he also has a pretty deep bond to Delta Green and the mission. So he's gonna try. He needs to compartmentalize what I just saw. And first couple of thoughts: is this somebody that can be saved? If she's so cold with the rapid thing, what's the first thing you do? It goes first rapidly through what you do for someone who's facing severe hypothermia. It's been a long time since they had to deal with anyone in a cold environment, considering his last big need of medical help was in a desert. So, and he rapidly realized, like, that's stupid. There's no, she's, and then the sanity, begins to manifest, and like, that's a corpse, Eli. You just like you saw in Kuwait, right? Those were those corpses walking out of the fire, and they ate people. And he backs up. He goes is there a back door to this cabin? For some reason, I'm imagining this is in the back.
It very much is. There's no back door, but you've now worn a little path between the septic tank and the front door of the cabin, as you had to go back in for the keys.
I'm gonna go back to the door of the cabin, keeping my eyes on that, where the tank is. I don't think I saw that picture. Obviously, I didn't see that picture that was in the thing, so I don't know who this possibly could be.
No.
And I'm just gonna go to the front door, open up, and like, Mr. Jasmine, I highly suggest you come with me.
Yeah, and between finding this, between Max finding this picture and this note, we cut away just as Max was finishing reading this, and it was starting to dawn on him that there was something horrible going on here. So between that and Amish stumbling through the door, wide-eyed, pale, and not from the cold.
Yeah,
we need to figure out what happens. What have Team Cabin been up to? What was Max's first reaction to seeing this stuff that his dad had kept?
I think it's bringing back suppressed stuff. Also, I think part of his brain would be shutting down. He's just so overwhelmed. His dad just died. Now he's in a cabin he knew nothing about, and now there's something possibly horror connected to it. He's about to freak out, I think.
Yeah, and this isn't all that's in this box. There is a thin but wide cardboard box. There is a pair of reel-to-reel tapes labeled with FBI evidence tags dated 15 August 1972 and 29 September 1972. There is a much older, more crumpled photograph, black and white, seemingly taken in the woods somewhere. There is a sheaf of paper that on its first page it says "Sky Devils, Archetypical Figures in Native American Mythology," authored by Karen Barr. From University of Indiana, Bloomington, 1985. There are 3 tear gas grenades. There is a large iron knife. There's a lot of stuff in here. And yeah, so as Max is having kind of a shutdown and is probably holding these 2 pieces of paper, the picture of his mother and this torn off sheet with his dad's note. I don't know, maybe he's also holding his mom's old sweater. This reaction, I'm sure, would draw the notice of Jennifer and Mr. Jasmine. clear to both of you that Max has found something. And, Jennifer was specifically looking for personal things, and as he, starts pulling things out and saying, like, something's wrong here, I recognize this stuff. I imagine Dr. Blake Harrington was looking over his shoulder and starting to see some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have only one of these other things I mentioned in a form that I can show all of you, and it is that that photo, that black and white, old, crumpled photo taken, I don't know, very old camera, probably been sitting around since the 50s or something like that. But this is the photo that was underneath all of that stuff. Underneath the photo is these reel-to-reel tapes. Underneath that is this cardboard box, which, if you open it up, you will find a man's suit covered in blood. And so on. What
The hell?
What? Yeah. What are all of you doing?
Like, Max sat down in front of this Footlocker and he's just pulling stuff out, going, "What the hell was my dad into?"
Yeah, and I need a sanity check from Max as well, as he is shown full force with no preparation what's behind Delta Green. All right, a 30 under 70. You lose no points of sanity as you said. It's it's shutdown time. Your dad was never much of a joker, but clearly, there's got to be some kind of a joke.
Yeah, I think the sci-fi fantasy, the fantasy part of Max's brain would shut off, and now the sci-fi, mathematical, analytical side of his brain's kicking into control.
Yeah.
Because he can't handle it emotionally. His brain doesn't work like that.
How much of what Max is going through is being read by Jennifer, the clinical psychiatrist?
All of it. All of it. You can tell that he is in severe distress. He is he's probably not at risk of going into a physiological shock, but he is in that state of emotional shutdown as he's just trying to he's just trying to take in information at this point. And you think that this is a time for guidance and comfort as a psychologist, but as a Delta Green agent, I think you and Kurt Becker both would know that it was a failure for Max to have seen this in the first place, and now that he has, he's in.
I got it. No, I got it.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so I'm thinking that Jennifer is gonna see what's happening, and here's the way I envision it going in my mind. She's like, "Oh my gosh, it looks like the stuff in that box is really putting you into a heightened emotional state, and this is a really good time for you to care for your body by having some tea and sitting down to talk with me," because she definitely keeps tea bags in her purse with her. So she's gonna be like, "Why don't you come over here and sit and chat with me? I'm actually a clinical psychiatrist, and I think it's time for me to come clean about that, and then I would like to like maybe help talk you through the situation. And then when he comes over to talk with me, I'll be like, oh, that stuff is like, how do you feel about seeing all of those faked photos, or that faked photo in your dad's box? It seems like maybe your dad was losing it a little, like, especially, and then I can like cite all of the details of his living situation to explain why I think that he has gone mad and why that's what that image is about. And don't you think it would be best for you and him emotionally if you let me take away the like contents of that box that are like evidence of his illness? Like, you don't want to remember him that way. You want to remember him the way that you love him. And so, like, why don't you let me take care of this for you?
There's no gaslighting there at all.
No, I would like a very quick opposed roll between.
It sounds so good. Max might buy this.
Yeah. Max's human versus Agent Jennifer's psychotherapy.
Ooh, never mind. Oh no!
Wow. Wow.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Oh, that's so sad.
That's wild. Despite Dr. Harrington's skill, in fact, it's partly because of her skill. As she sits down and starts working Max, and he is in such a shocked and analytical state and a mathematical state, and he's diagnosing himself at the same time. He's an incredibly intelligent man, kid, and he's just like, oh, psychologist, she's psychobabbling me. I'm gonna let this wash over me, and he doesn't pay attention. He might believe her, he might not. He probably doesn't care if what she's saying is true or not.
I mean, honestly, at this point, it's kind of in the background as he's going over all this in his head.
What's Kurt Becker doing as your fellow agent is just trying to like put out the flames of Max Baughman's sudden discovery? What's Kurt Becker's first priority?
Well, he's getting the fire going, and his goal is to get it rip-roaring pretty quickly. He hears the discussion, there's obvious discovery, there's some chatter. He knows they found something. So what he would have done, he's going to walk over and, mind if I take a look. He's not going to try to like sneakily, look over somebody's shoulder. He's just going to be asked to he's just going to ask that they hand what they're reading to him. And as he's taking that in, what he would do next depends on whether or not Yoder shows up. So
yeah, I'm going to say
Yoder
that
does not show up.
You end up with this flying saucer photo in your hand as Yoder walks through the front door.
As Yoder walks through, have I had time to look at the picture and read the note at this point? Or
yeah, you look at the picture and you flip it over and you're just, that CIA memory training takes over and you're just cataloging information. And, this is a series of seconds. I'm pocketing all of that because I'm going to burn it later. Yeah, and then Yoder walks in saying, you guys better come look at this. And you're all back together, and as Yoder walks back into this cabin, he can see that he's not the only one who has made a discovery. Mr. Jasmine
Yeah.
is shoving something in his pocket.
I just think, Miss Jennifer there, I think you might want to keep our young man here. Mr. Jasmine and I go. Sorry, sir, but you really should come with me.
Kurt goes for the door. Now, you said that the lock to the cabin was a padlock, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
As they exit the door, Kurt locks them inside. And Kurt is taking the kitchen matches with him because he saw a thing about the gas. He's taking the kitchen matches. He's thinking there's some kind of ugliness or wet work that he's about to do, and he does not need that kid seeing more than he's already seen.
He's as we're walking away from the. Can I notice if you? Putting the padlock on is not something you can do super subtle.
I'm not being sly about it. He's moving methodically. He moves when he's like in the zone and he's doing his thing. He's got the sort of the economy of motion and single-mindedness that the Terminator has. He just doesn't have the Austrian accent, although he can do an Austrian accent when needed.
Mr. Jasmine, sir, I don't mean to sound alarmist, but we might want to make sure we secure a fallback position. If it's not the house, you got your car keys with you?
Yoder, what did you find? And at this point, he's got the kitchen matches. He stashes them in one of his pocket. He's just going straight for the sewer.
Yeah,
or the septic tank out back, and what has been.
Yeah, go ahead.
It has not been visible yet, but it in a shock to no one at this point. Kurt Becker removes from his holster his 6-hour 228 compact 13-shot 9mm. What did you find?
And even as you're starting
Just
down
walking.
this pathway around the back of the cabin, you can already hear faintly coming from the ground at the edge of the woods. Please! Please help me! I'm so cold!
I need you to double check. Because what I saw down there ain't alive or shouldn't be alive. If you see it and tell me that you think it's alive and we need to do something, but I can't trust what I saw. I need you to double check me. And
All right, but
leads him over and
Max's
he goes,
dad left instructions to burn what you saw. I don't know what you saw. I'm about to take my own look. There's gasoline behind the shed, or behind the house.
I know, it's in the shed. There's 2 or 3 full tanks in there. And she's still talking behind me. He's like, there's a woman down there. Severe frostbite, 95% of her body that should have been sloughed off. There's no way she should be alive right now. But I have been part of this organization long enough to know that there's some things that I cannot explain as a medical person. So, look with care, but if you think we should do away with it, just make sure she's not alive. And he just steps aside and lets you sort of look down there yourself.
And as you
Kurt
come...
is not doing
Sorry, go
anything until he sees Yoder in motion towards where the gasoline is kept.
I'm not going towards you yet. I'm just stepping aside because I'm watching your reaction to looking down there.
What is... I know Becker's human is pretty good. What is his percentage there?
It's up there. It's 80.
Wow.
I think it's
Good to
even
know.
better.
So, you step slowly, carefully, toward the small pit with its old pile of unearthed dirt next to it. You see the lid to the septic tank thrown aside on the snow. The hole down into darkness. I take it you took the flashlight from Yoder.
Oh yeah, you can. I just hand it over to him.
And pistol in one hand, light in the other. You look down. And at this point, you've seen the photo from the box. And you know that that is Marlene Baughman. You recognize her face. You recognize her size. Her age is right. There's no hair. And as you look at her, she reaches up and she says, "Please." And as she reaches her right hand toward you, you can see the flesh from the back of her hand begins to peel away like a loose banana peel.
Ah,
I also need you to make a sanity check.
That's me, leading you all to insanity.
Not me. I'm still in the house with Max.
I'm sparing you.
I'm imagining that like Max and I are like sitting at the table, or at like a table, or on the floor, and then they leave and like lock us in, and we can totally hear the lock, and like we both just like look at each other
Like,
when that happens.
Crap. So, you recognize two things. First, that is horrible. You've never seen in any of your time at the farm or you know, in your training, you've never seen anything like that. And just how gruesome it is also costs you 3 points of sanity. And just the recognition that is something other. This is one of those unnatural things, and it's right there, and it's begging for help. And it is wearing Marlene Baughman's face, if it's not actually her. If it is actually her, if she's actually alive, she is in a horrific state. And the reason I was asking you about your humant is because you also read her body language. You very quickly, as you're trying to decide, human, not human, Marlene, not Marlene, alive, dead, you're trying to apply anything that you know to this view that you have, and what ends up sticking is your study of body language, of how to tell if a contact is ready to, is going to turn you into the Stasi. You were trained for this. And when you look at what's left of Marlene Baughman, you immediately can tell that while she is reaching toward you pitifully, her legs are bent slightly at the knees. Her stance is careful. Her muscles are tensed. She is in a high state of alert. She is not defeated. She is not a victim. What do you do?
Is she certainly... She is very much in a deliberate position right now. Is she in motion? Is she moving towards me? Is she just reaching up to me?
She is simultaneously waiting for a chance. You're not sure what that looks like to her, but she's simultaneously waiting for her chance and also putting on an act of pain and cold. You look at her and she's holding her body as if she's cold. She's not shivering. Not the tiniest bit.
I think I would have noticed that. Oh.
And I mean, the lid and the lock are, I assume, very close to the opening.
Yeah.
All right. He will attempt to lie, and say, "Well, on for a minute. He was, what was her,
Marlene.
Marlene? Marlene, is that you?
Yes. Yes.
Gotta... Okay, bring in a ladder over. Stand back and we'll drop it down." And he knows there's no ladder. And this is a test. And if she stands back, he's going to try to jam the lid back on it quickly and lock it. And if she doesn't stand back, if she doesn't move back, she continues to move towards him. He's popping her right in the skull.
How far down is she? Like, how far down from the cap is this tank?
Yeah, so like there's about a 6-inch like riser from the top of the tank, and then the tank itself is about 6 feet deep. And she couldn't have been more than 5'3" in life, and as bent as she is, she's as she reaches up, her hand is coming within within a few 6-8 inches of the top of the tank, but not really coming closer than a foot from the actual surface.
Okay. Yeah, so it's basically he's feeding her a bullshit story about a ladder to try to buy himself some time to lock that thing back up. And if she doesn't go for it, and if she comes for him aggressively, he's opening up.
I'd like you to roll Persuade.
Critical success.
Critical success. 66 under 80. You keep it cool. You are ice cold. You say, "I'm going to go get a ladder." She says, "Thank you. Thank you. It's been so long since he visited me. It's been so long. He's been keeping me under here for years." And she starts to babble as you take your moment to move away from the opening, grab the lid, and exactly as you intended, you throw the lid back on. You start screwing it back down, and she lets out a scream. "No!" But and Yoder's hearing this as well.
Yep. And as you screw it back on, I'm like, "Well, alive, not alive."
Kurt looks up. And he almost gives him a, like, are you fucking shitting me look, but realizes, like, no, this is actually pretty fucked up, what's happening. He just says, not alive, not human.
And
Not
Eli
anymore.
just nods, and swallowing this absolute dreaded, like, this is the part that sucks for him, right? He grew up with a whole thing of non-violence, and life is precious unless you're an animal. That doesn't much matter. True story. So he just turns, goes back to that shed, and gets the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And assuming I can return with that without anything else happening, I heard you say,
Well, on that note,
yeah.
the screaming is now audible from inside the cabin, and Max can hear his mother's voice.
Oh no.
You hear your
Call the
mother's
door.
voice, your mother who you lost at 14, who you've been going to school, you've been going to conventions, you've been working probably partly to try and get through watching your mother die of cancer and then your father implode and lose everything. And now you can hear her screaming for help, for mercy, screaming that your father had kept her here. What's Max doing?
You know, in the movies where the camera focuses in really fast, but like the outside is all blurry, but it focuses in, and then Max's eyes do that, and they become like saucers, and he's just starting to get up to go towards that voice. Like he's not even controlling himself.
Yeah, and
And he's going to start
Blake
picking up
Harrington.
steam too.
yeah, I mean, and you've got a psychotherapist who knows these reactions. That was an immediate. You saw the change in blood flow on his face. You saw the change in his pupils. He has gone from one shock to, and he is starting to exhibit an extreme emotional reaction. And you heard the same shouts. What are the two of you doing? Is
I think Max would look at Agent Jennifer and, do you have any good drugs on you?
Oh my god.
I honestly don't think I don't know what Max could think after that. He's just heading towards the sound of his mom's voice.
Yeah,
But remember, the door is locked, so if you try to get out of the door...
He starts walking toward the door, and he tries to pull on the knob, and the doorknob turns, but he can feel that the padlock outside has this closed up. There are a pair of windows on either side of the front door. They're pretty old, sticky wooden frames, but that would probably look like the next way out to try.
Yeah, Max would try the knob once. He would not try it again. He would just immediately go for the window.
Yeah, and you mess around with the little latch on the window for security. You start pushing on it. There's a crackling sound. Is Agent Jennifer doing anything in response to Max clearly trying to get out, trying to go toward this sound, which you also don't have a great explanation for. Having read this note from Clyde Baughman, you think that can't be anything good.
Yeah, so Jennifer is going to be asking Max questions like, who do you think that is? Like, why are you trying to get out there right now? We should stay here in case it's not safe. It sounds like something dangerous is happening. What are you doing?
Yeah. And is Max answering any of this, or is he just, like, single-minded?
He finally just not snap, but he's starting to lose it, and he's like, my dad just died. My mom's been dead. Now my mom's alive. Is my dad alive?
What makes you think your mom is alive?
Is this all real? I can hear her voice.
Listen,
and
I think
losing
that you're under a lot of stress. Why don't you come back and sit down with me? I can show you some breathing exercises. I can help you meditate on this. Let's get you to come back to center before you do anything drastic.
And with a crackle, the window frame lets loose, and you're able to slide the window open far enough that you think you could climb out. It won't be comfortable, but you could do it.
Oh yeah, I'll try.
Is Dr. Blake Harrington going to try to do anything physical here to stop him, or is she just trying to talk him through this?
I think that she is gonna have to do something physical. I'm thinking, like, you know how when you are a doctor, or a nurse, you're trained on how to like restrain people without like hurting them, like for healthcare reasons.
Yeah.
I think that, like, as a psychiatrist, or a psychologist, I probably would have like learned plenty of that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'd like to try to, like, pull him back inside and, like, restrain him.
Okay.
And as I do it, I'd like to, like, do more talking. Like, you're showing obvious signs of, like, mental and emotional distress. Like, I'm thinking, like, she's gonna be trying to convince him that, like, he is acting out irrationally, and, like, he needs to trust her, and take a minute before, like, he breaks more things or someone gets hurt.
Okay.
I think hearing that, Max would immediately kind of stand down because he doesn't want this to escalate to a point where somebody's going to get hurt. He might be going a little psycho, but he still is smart enough to, once you cross that line, there's not a lot of going back.
Yeah. So Agent Jennifer steps up to him and is able to get a hold on his arm, a very insistent hold. Nothing that'll hurt anyone, but also not anything that Max is going to be able to ignore. And he
do we have cell phones?
1992.
No.
No.
Max might.
It's a bag that he has in his car, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, Radio Shack Kid might have something, but I doubt any
yeah.
of the rest of you would.
No.
Colby and I actually talked about this after last session. I'm like, hey, would it be possible, like, I would be one of the guys who would get one of these because of, Radio Shack?
Yeah.
And it's totally the huge battery back thing you plug into the cigarette lighter.
And that, in fact, this is where we get the term cell phone, because it is a battery cell with a phone attached to it.
Oh.
Nokia 101.
Nokia.
Well, no lie, my family had one of these.
Uh-huh.
Oh
We
my
had one
gosh.
in a car. It was huge. It was a bag, and it barely fit inside your
Oh, yeah.
inside your glove, like the center console of a van.
Look up a Nokia LX12. And it's exactly what you describe. It's a
Yeah,
it's a bag.
It came in a black leather bag. Called it a bag phone. They did actually have cell phones in the 80s, but they were even bigger.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, they. I think, in fact, here. Drop it. This you can't see it. Anyone watching is not going to see this, but I'm dropping a picture. That is the cell phone we had. Looked like that.
Amazing.
So it was a big old bag. I don't know if that was the exact one, but it looked just like that. So anyway, it was great to be able to call people. In fact, yeah, it's wild. In fact, the cell phone number I carry is still that cell phone number.
That's madness.
I know. I've had it since the 90s.
That's
So anyway.
Yeah,
yes,
so Max isn't trying to escalate this. He's not trying to he's not trying to start a fist fight with the cute member of this team that is here to introduce the unnatural to his life. But
Soccer one.
But I mean, he knows he's got this capability to call out, and that nobody else does. It's probably back in the car, unless he would have carried it with him.
No, I probably would have left it in the car.
And you can still hear the shouts, but yeah, as you kind of stop trying to dive out the window, we will cut back to Kurt Becker and Eli Yoder. And you know, I said there was 20 gallons of gas in the shed. There are 20 individual 1 gallon tanks. So I'm sure Yoder is heading for that, and he we cut in as he returns with a pair of these 1 gallon cans of gasoline. Yeah, do either of you have anything to add to this scene right now?
Yeah. So we're gonna bring these gallons up to Mr. Jasmine and be like, "What's the plan? Gunshots are not gonna be totally unheard of out here. Do we do that and then pour it, or you pour it first?"
We need. You gotta bring down 4 at a time, not 2, and you gotta hustle. We don't have much time. I don't know what that kid's gonna do. I don't know what that's gonna do. He points to the septic tank.
Alright, he's gonna hustle, he's
I'm
gonna
just gonna
carry.
stand here, and if it comes, he's leaning in. I mean, he assumed, who knows, but he's leaning in, whispering. He's like, "I need you to bring down 4 at a time, not 2. I need you to hurry. I'm not trying to get out of work. I'm gonna stand here. If whatever that is tries to come out, I'm gonna shoot it." Which, I don't even know if that's gonna work. So you gotta hustle, kid.
Okay. And he runs back, and like a good soldier, and he does. He carries 4 at a time, assuming they've got handles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scoop them up, 2 in each hand, which is really heavy.
Yeah.
A gallon of
This
gasoline is heavy.
This is definitely worse than carrying like 4 gallons of milk at a time. The handles are meant to carry one at a time.
Yep. Yeah, I've done this. It's awful.
Yep.
But yeah, so he's got to do that. Hustle it down as fast as he can, and there's no complaint. And he's used to work. Physical work. Up and back. No complaints, no grumbling, no nothing. He's very methodical, just up, back. And finally, we've got all the cans, all 20 down. So go on.
Yeah. And
as these trips are happening, Kurt's sort of thinking again. He's thinking of his training, and he's hoping by like sort of attributing characteristics to this creature that aren't necessarily true, but he's basically like talking to it. He's not going to do a lot of talking. He is going to ask another question though, but he's regarding it as a source, as kind of like almost like a double agent, like is somebody that he's reaching out to, and the source is going to burn him, but the source doesn't realize that he knows that the source is going to try to burn him. So he's just trying to, it's kind of an unreliable narrator, like, I'm going to talk in good faith, but assume everything I hear is a lie. Which is no big deal, because he just lied himself. But
and she, she continues to beg until you finish closing the lid. And when you finish closing the lid, the crying tapers off, and she says, I know everything he found. I'm not the only thing he hid. Do you think you can trust Delta Green? Look at what they did to Clyde. They sold him out. They left him to rot. They left me to rot. They let me die. He didn't give up. He knew things about them. He knows that the U.S. government is a sham. It's a sham. It's being used by forces you couldn't possibly comprehend. You have no idea what you're doing. And she keeps going on, and she keeps mentioning things. She says, If anyone finds out about me, what you did here, Majestic will get you. And she keeps saying, Majestic will find you. And when they find you, their masters will find you as well. And as Yoder drops cans number 19 and 20, she begins to laugh. She says, You have no idea. You have no idea what you're fucking with. And she leaps, and the lid of the septic tank screeches as it separates from the tank, and the figure of Marlene Baughman has just bodily thrown herself vertically, a good 12 feet vertically, through a screwed-in plastic septic tank lid, and there's no initiative roll, but
shit.
we are going into initiative order. So, would you kindly all tell me what your dexterity scores are?
I am a 10 or a 50 in the times 5.
Okay.
Same for Max.
Okay, 8 for Jennifer.
11 for Kurt.
And
We're a dexterous bunch.
yeah. And for that which was Marlene, a 17.
Aren't you guys glad you're locked in a house right now?
Kinda.
Well, I'm not locked in here with you.
This thing that was Marlene Baughman breaks through the lid of the septic tank with a single leap. Yoder was in the process of setting down these last 2 cans of gasoline, and she looks between him and Kurt, sees the pistol in Kurt's hand, and rushes for him. And well, let's see here. Oh, and my apologies. I should make it so that the rolls are visible for everybody here. But she actually rolled an 81 over 75 to attack you. So she rushes for Kurt Becker, and you know, whether it was training or just the shock of what she was capable of, bodily leaping, 12 feet vertically, while ripping through a very solid lid to a septic tank that was designed to hold pressure. You fall backwards, and you hear a whistle as her skeletal hand slashes through the air where your head was just a half a second earlier. And you find yourself on the ground just a couple feet away from her. She is still moving toward you, menacing you, but Mr. Jasmine, Kurt Becker, is up next after having just barely dodged out of the way. What's he doing?
Is she crawling, crouched, running?
She is.
Body position.
She is standing, on the balls of her feet, knees slightly bent, very clearly, almost a wrestling stance.
He just said, he yells, Clyde said to burn you. He's holding his pistol up, and he just waits for some kind of reaction to that.
And what's left of her smiles and says, Clyde also didn't know what he was fucking with.
I'm emptying a mag right now.
Yeah, so you start pulling the trigger. Go ahead and roll your firearms. Excellent.
Nice.
So you start pulling the trigger, blam, 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 just firing as fast as your SIG will cycle. And did we ever get an actual pistol set up on your sheet? Or did I forget to do that? Okay, so a compact SIG. I believe that's a 1d10. So go ahead and roll a d10 for damage on that. All right, so 5. You start firing, and the way that that the bullets almost splat into her flesh like she's made of the same stuff as a wintry cold bank of mud, like a pile of slushy mud or something. The bullets go straight through, and the holes don't bleed; they close back up. Still there, still damage to the flesh, but also not damage to living flesh. And you sense that you have done very little here. So that will bring us to Max Baughman. You just heard this shout. You don't know what you're fucking with, and then a loud clang, and then gunshots. Does this cause you to reevaluate going out that window?
Sorry, I'm having a coughing fit. Hold on 1 second, please.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think he would jump up, look at Agent Jennifer, like, what do we do? What's going on?
Yeah, so he's kind of taking his cues from her. So we'll just say that he's gonna do whatever he does when Dr. Blake Harrington goes. Meanwhile, back outside, Eli Yoder has seen another dead body do something impossible. He's got past with this sort of thing.
Yeah. Man, it's funny how oddly this is shaken up. So he watches Jasmine just unload on this thing and just nothing. We have he flashes back momentarily to Kuwait when the same sort of thing, people are unloading rifle fire, nothing. But you know what they were scared of? Fire. They walked away from the fire. Now, granted, in that instance, he was thinking they were coming out of the fire, or was the smoke, or was it nothing, or were they driven by it? But he mentioned that they were here. They have to burn it. So he grabs up one of the gallons of gas. Now, is this one of the things that has a spout on the end of it?
What I have in my head is essentially the sort of rectangular canister that you get like acetone or paint thinner in.
Okay, like the old World War II Jeep.
Yeah.
Rectangles. Okay.
Just like a rectangular sheet metal or sheet tin can, and just a screw-on metallic lid there.
Yep. Okay. So he's grabbing that up, unscrewing the top, and he's gonna basically try and dump it all over her. And as he's gonna be doing that, he's got this saying, old prayer comes to his mind. He goes, "Oh Lord, Almighty God and Heavenly Father, you know and recognize everyone's heart and failings. I ask you to help and comfort me during my great distress." And starts just dumping in over this lady, "Forgive me my sins and my misdeeds, of which I have committed against you in word or deed, action or omission, knowingly or unknowingly." And I know he's got matches in his pockets.
Yeah. Let's see. I think I need to make you have a roll here. And I'm trying to decide.
Melee,
what were you thinking?
Oh, we got melee. We got unarmed. Yeah.
I'm kind of thinking maybe straight dexterity, just as you're manipulating tools.
Okay.
Under
yeah. I mean, that's fine. That's as good or better than those other two.
Uh-huh.
All right. This is a straight 50-50 shot. Hope I don't biff it. Oh, it's a critical!
22 under 50. You, I don't know, maybe when you were picking up each of those cans, you were just loosening the lids. And you just start popping them off. And one can in each hand, you slosh them toward that which was Marlene, and she screams as the fuel douses her. And yeah, that'll be your action as you cover her in gasoline. And you drop those 2 cans, and you're reaching into your pocket for your matches as we move down the initiative order. What is Dr. Blake Harrington doing as Max Baughman is looking to her as gunshots are going off? You're in the field now.
Okay, look, you might be muted because I see you talking, but...
Muted.
Oh, shoot, I am muted.
There you are.
There we go.
Okay, sorry. I was saying I am gonna go with gaslighting again. And I'm gonna do a, hey, listen. If your mother really was out there, why hasn't she come in? Why is she just yelling? That doesn't make sense, does it? You know, grief does weird things to our bodies and our brains. The brain is a pattern recognition machine. It's gonna make sounds seem more familiar. It's gonna make things sound like they actually aren't. And then I'm gonna be like, have you ever heard of auditory hallucinations? Sometimes they happen to totally sane people in moments of stress, just like this stressful moment is happening to you. Your nervous system is playing a trick on you. So I'm trying to, give him something logical to, think about. If your mother was here, it was really out there, why would she just be screaming?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she have come in already?
Are you asking a teenage boy why would his mother be yelling?
Yes.
Why would your mother be yelling right now?
Yeah.
I think,
because she's supposed to be dead. So, I'm just listen. You know that's not real, right? You're definitely not hearing your mother's voice, right?
I think in his head he's like, well, she's probably not coming in because she's being shot. But
yeah, I would like a roll from Dr. Blake Harrington for persuade, and whether this succeeds or fails. Max still has some choices, but we'll get to that. All right, good success, 39 under 70.
Here's what I'm thinking. If this, I'm guessing that this tactic doesn't completely fail, but my plan here is that, if he decides to try to leave anyway, then she's going to be like, all right, it's time to come clean. At that point, I will have to, physically keep him in the cabin, and
Yeah.
I'll do a, you don't want to know what's out there. I'm telling you, you are not ready to know this. You don't know what your father was into. You need to trust me. You don't want to know what's out there.
Okay, so what this Agent Jennifer, is telling you rings true, rings persuasive. That doesn't mean that, your character doesn't have agency here, and you can spend a point of willpower if you want to do exactly the opposite of what she is suggesting. But he was looking to her for some reaction. What do you think he's going to do here?
I think recognizing a bit of the I'm only calling it gaslighting for lack of a better term. But I guess.
Well, there's a lot of gaslighting in general happening at
Yeah,
the moment.
yeah. And but he's also believing part of it because part of it's true. Like all of it's true. She's not lying. My dad is dead. My mom is dead. What is going on out there? So, and he did look to her to kind of like, okay, there's gunshots. This really isn't my gig. What are we gonna do, agent person? So yeah, he would actually follow her lead.
Yeah, I imagine he would be grateful to have someone who like seems like they know what's going on.
All right.
So, yeah.
So the two of you stay where you are. Agent Jennifer is just trying to keep this contained, trying to keep Max Baughman from stumbling into whatever shit show is happening outside, and it's working for the time being.
Great.
That brings us back around to the next round. This, seconds have passed, and now dripping with gasoline, that which was Marlene hears Amish Yoder saying this prayer under his breath. And she says, "Your God has no power here." And she leaps for him.
Oh boy. Oh my god, I am so lucky.
You are so lucky. Similar to what happened before. This time, maybe it's a matter of reflexes, and you've seen this sort of thing before, and you know to stay away. Keep your body away, no matter what. And you jink to the side as she rushes you like a linebacker. This 5'3", 50-year-old woman's body kicks up a rooster tail of snow as she runs, but you jump aside, and as she does so, again you hear the wind whistle through her bony hands as she slashes at you, but she doesn't stop running when she misses you. She continues to run toward the cabin. And she covers the entire distance between about where the septic tank is to the side of the cabin where you can see the chimney. She's following the same trail that you have now made by walking back and forth to the front door of the cabin, and she is making it. She's making that way at Olympic sprinter speed. And that brings us back to Kurt Becker.
Light it on fire.
I don't know that I can. She's out of my range at the moment, right?
I mean, for like lighting something on fire, I'm not sure you even have matches. Well, no, you do.
I know he has matches.
You do. You
He
absolutely
specifically
have
said
matches.
Yeah, he put them in his pocket. Yeah.
You think that if you ran faster than you ever had in your life, while also striking a 20-year-old match, you might be able to light her on fire. Or,
She's right.
if you don't want to fuck around with the matches, getting a pistol real close and getting that muzzle flash, that might do it.
She's going for the front door, or is
Yeah.
she going for like a window?
She's not going for a window. The only window is high on the wall above the kitchen sink and not very well sized for anything remotely human sized. So she would have to make her way around the front anyway. But basically, what I'm going to say is if you want to catch up with her, I'm going to need an athletics roll.
No, I mean, he's gonna pursue. He's already made a tactical error with the lid, but he's thinking like she's gonna go in there, it's gonna go in there, and the calculus, the cold calculus in his head is that whatever happens is going to buy him some time. You know, she is going to see Max, and that will throw her off her game.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's going to start going ham on these people that he's worked with for like an hour and a half, and so sad, too bad, better them than me. But he's thinking, run to the cabin, and he's looking to grab a big burning hunk of firewood. It's burning one end. He's going for the fireplace.
Okay.
But he's grabbing two gas cans. He's like, and he just yells back to Yoda, we're going to light her up, we're going to light the cabin up, we're burning it all down. And he just grabs 2 gas cans and starts running for the door.
Excellent.
In pursuit, but he's going to let her go through first.
Okay.
And he's pretty sure she's not going to let the lack of the key get in her way.
No. Yeah, and so if you're not trying to keep up with her, then I'm not going to call for any kind of a check here. You just, you maybe like chuck your pistol back in a pocket. It
He's
flashes.
holster the pistol, grab 2 gas cans, and start running. Because in his mind, while there may be some collateral damage, she has made a bad tactical decision by going in that house, where he knows there is a rip-roaring fire, and she doesn't know that.
Yeah. So, Max, you are hearing, the gunfire stopped, but you hear the sound of somebody running very fast. And it's coming your direction, more or less. You've been convinced to delay this long. What do you think you're doing?
I think, is there like a way to get out on the other side of the house? Like, are there windows on the other side?
No. There's a window high in the wall on the, above the kitchen sink. There's a very small window high in the wall above the out-of-order toilet. But your best way out of this is the window you've already got open.
But there's somebody coming towards that window, right?
Max is not in a position to know that. He can hear that people are running outside. But where they're running, they seem to be getting closer, but are they coming into the cabin? Are they running past? It honestly would probably be hard to tell whether they're coming in or running for the cars.
True. I don't know what to do. I will try to get the window open. Yes, I will go for the window.
Okay, window's open. You already achieved that, so... if you just want to spend your action here on like climbing through, that would about do it.
I just want to look out it and see if I can see anybody.
Okay, yeah. So you stick your head and shoulders out, and we kind of go into slow motion as you just see emerging around the corner of the cabin a skeletal hand, followed by your mother's face, your mother's corpse's face.
Oh.
Black and blue with cold, hair torn out and patchy. She looks worse than she did on that hospital bed dying of cancer.
Oh. That's not Ma.
Yeah, and so you have the time to register. That's not Mom. That's not good. That's outside. Is it coming in? Is it going for the cars? Hard to tell.
Hard to care. I'm going to close that window.
Nice. So you quickly move back away from the window. You drop it shut, and you start to back into the center of the cabin, and then we will come back to Amish.
Okay, so I know that Mr. Jasmine still gonna light the house on fire. Now, I have witnessed nothing but very cold and calculated work on his part. I'm not sure if he intends to let the other people out, so I'm going to slightly disobey said order. Slightly. This is where the medic part comes in. And I'm going to try and catch her instead.
Right.
At the same time, did we establish if I had matches from the garage, or not the garage, the shed?
I will say that you were able to find... Better yet, you found a pile of 3 road flares.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm thinking what I will grab one of those up, or if I have in my pocket, even better.
Yeah, just one in your pocket. You pull it out.
Yeah. So my intention, okay, is I want to try and catch her, and before she ever gets inside the house, to shove that in her mouth while it's lit. Or into her. You know what? I'm probably not that accurate. I know to pull center mass, right? So. But she's very fast, and I don't know if I'm that fast. So what am I rolling to catch up to her?
Definitely athletics.
Oh boy! All right, here we go. It's
You got it. You got
Oh
it.
my god! This we got Captain America here.
I don't know what's happening.
On your left.
Yeah, he's just, you start running and you've never run so fast. You know exactly what you need to get done. And because of that critical, I'm gonna let you, also like strike that flare, get it started, as you run, and you're very much able to catch up with her.
Awesome.
Is there any other like little thing what was he intending to do when he got to her?
Just jab it into her, 'cause she's full of gasoline, man.
Yeah.
I don't need to hit very hard. And as he's like running up to do this, he's like, being human is a privilege, not an excuse. And just right into it. I don't know if you need me to roll for that or.
Yeah, give me an
God.
unarmed.
Okay.
Yeah, an unarmed attack.
Okay.
Unarmed combat.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you a plus 20% just because of that critical.
Okay. Oh, it's a success anyway.
Amazing. So you rush toward her, and you just jam the end of this flare into her, and she goes up like a bonfire. It is instantly, you have to put up your hands as the fire spreads across her body, and she is very much immediately burning, and this is a case where things have a lethality rating.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna roll D100. Well, let me see. I think, yeah. So as an unnatural creature, lethality doesn't mean exactly the same thing. It's not like if this lethality roll works out that she's just instantly dead. It's more that she ends up taking an absolute ton of damage.
Sure.
But let's see. So 71 over 10%. So that is a lethality failure, but that does mean that she takes the sum of the 2d10 for 8 damage, and because she's fully on fire, she's not getting any benefit from armor or anything like that. And she's still moving. She does begin to scream. There is pain there. She's burning and crackling, and you can hear the sound almost like ropes straining as her tendons try to shrink under the incredible heat, but she keeps moving. So that will be your turn as you just throw up your hands to try and shield your face from this incredible heat. And Dr. Harrington, you just watched Max stick his head out the window and go white as a sheet, and then close the window and back away very quickly, and then you hear this woof as something lights on fire. You can see the light shining off of the trees across the street. It is so sudden and intense. What are you doing?
That's a really good question. I think I am going to try to maintain my gaslighting of Max.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do a maybe I'll peek out the window because as a Delta Green agent, I know that some shit is probably going down, and I need to know how safe we are, and does the group outside need my help?
Don't look out there.
Yeah, and he says that as you pass him, and you look out the window, and the angle is right now, as you can see, a about 5'2" figure, head to toe, flaming, turning in circles, waving her arms around. You see Marlene Baughman. By the way, I forgot, but I do need a sanity roll from both Dr. Blake Harrington and Max Baughman, just for the sake of seeing her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, 1 point of sanity loss for Dr. Blake Harrington.
Uh-oh.
And more for poor Max. That's 5.
Oh!
5 is an important number. So the question here is do you want to push some of that off onto a bond? Or do you want to go temporarily insane?
Let's go temporarily insane.
That seems right. This is a really stressful situation.
This just seems like it's that kind of day.
Yeah. So, fight or flight kicks in, and for, I'm going to say pretty much as long as we're going to be in turn order, Max is now just, I'm going to say he falls to the flight side, and he is just trying to get into the opposite corner of this cabin and trying to get as far away from whatever that was as he possibly can.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that brings us back around to what is left of Marlene Baughman, and she screeches in rage and she begins to run. And if you thought she was running fast before, it actually fans the flames, and she is like a comet streaking through the sky as she runs past the cabin, past the cars, into the trees on the other side of the driveway. Now she does, as she is continuing to burn, that causes additional damage, and the damage is mounting. And as she runs, you can see that she's running slower. There was this incredible burst of speed for a moment, and then she slows down, and as she's aglow just past the just past the edge of the tree line there, as you catch a glimpse of her disappearing into the woods, she's slowing down and starting to fall to her knees, still screaming. Mr. Jasmine.
I'm closing. I'm tracking. I'm full. All of them. I don't think the movie's come out yet. He is full Hawkeye and Last of the Mohicans, running, gun, and tracking.
All right,
He's got
so
a pistol tucked away, he's got matches, and he's got 2 cans of gas.
yeah, so if he is running as fast as he can, then give me an athletics roll. Let's just see how the footing in this. Oh, okay,
Not great.
not great. You run as fast as you can, and you trip, and you fall and drop these cans of gas. Given that was an actual fumble, wow, the dice are being extra interesting today. One of the gas cans that you were carrying had its cap a little bit more loose than the other, and Marlene Baughman is dripping flaming gasoline as she runs. And gasoline spills as you fall, and once again, woof, another quick, tiny mushroom cloud as this spill lights up. You find your suit, your pant leg, your jacket, both aflame as you are going to take 6 points of damage from severe burns as you accidentally roll in this burning gasoline, and I'm sure you're spending your next several seconds trying to get yourself put out.
Well, that was rough.
Yeah. Max
It's
Baughman.
a stretch that I actually caught up to her.
No, you did not.
Then what ignited the gas?
She was just dripping flaming gasoline, so you dropped gas on near enough one of these drips that was still alight.
Okay.
Max is, of course, temporarily insane and just gibbering and trying to get as small as he can into the corner of this cabin. Brings us back to Captain Amish.
Jesus. Wow. I'm pretty sure that's the extent of all my luck for the rest of this campaign. Entirely. But you never. I don't know. I don't play games. I'm usually a GM. This is wild to me. All right. So. Oh man, Jasmine just fell, and looks like he caught some fire himself. But I think I'm gonna try and catch her anyway. I can treat the living. I can't do much about the dead or the undead or whatever this thing is. You know. So I'm gonna sort of try to catch up to it. I know that she's went to her knees at some point, so I'm guessing that the fire is starting to really do its job.
It is.
And oh boy. First of all, how close can I get? You think this round?
To her?
Yeah.
I think with a critical success on athletics, you could catch up to her.
Okay. Hey, odds that happens again.
Hey man, weirder things have happened.
Weirder things have happened. I mean, you once killed a goblin with a mug.
Yep.
That's true.
Different system, but
I was there for that.
Yeah, I would like to say that I killed 2 things with a mug.
you did.
It's not unheard of, but it's weird that it happened twice.
It was a very deadly mug.
It was a very deadly mug. All right, athletics. Oh, it's a failure. Oh, but at least it's not a critical failure.
It's not a critical failure. You also start running. You also, as you run, you stumble and you do also. You skin your knees and stuff like that. It's gonna hurt, but you don't take any actual hit points of damage. And as you just kind of get back to your hands and knees, You can just barely see Marlene Baughman heading into the trees. We will come back to that thought after Dr. Blake Harrington's turn. What's she doing? She can tell that Max has truly lost it now.
Blake. So let me ask you this: when she looked outside, did it seem like I should be helping, or like I am managing my half of the problem and they're managing their half of the problem?
I'm sure she's still in the phase of what the fuck was that? But, you know, being prepared for weird stuff to be happening, I'm sure she's... I don't know, she would probably be thinking, you know, do what I can do.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking like, what am I gonna do out there if, like, people are on fire and, like, guns are going off? So I'm gonna focus on Max. Is he, like, responsive at all?
You rush over to him, and he's not looking at you. He is clearly falling into a true state of shock now. I think this is a situation where if you wanted to use your psychotherapy to try and get him out of this temporary insanity, that would be reasonable.
Yeah, I'm thinking of trying to, like, do some deep breathing exercises, or, like, splash him with cold water, or something like that. And
get him to look at you and just, like, breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah, and just be like, everything is okay, your mind is just trying to protect you, you're safe in here with me, that's what matters. Like,
alright. Go ahead and roll your psychotherapy. Excellent.
Ooh.
And that will allow Max to come back from this state that he's in.
How many sanity points did I take? I didn't mark anything down.
You took
yet.
5.
Okay, thank you. Whew.
Now, back to, Captain Amish looking out into the woods where Marlene Baughman is apparently trying to escape, but still on fire. There's very little chance that any, mechanical damage roll would allow her to live here. The question I have in my mind is whether she is fast enough to stop, drop, and roll to mitigate the damage and keep moving. And I don't want to leave this up to her athletic skill, because that's a 99%. What I want to leave this up to is a luck roll. Mike, go ahead and roll luck for Amish.
Fail?
Okay. You watch as as you stumbled and you skinned your knees and you look up. You watch as Marlene Baughman, as she was out of sight, she had also dropped and rolled. And you watch as a skeletal, burnt black figure turns and looks back at you. There's no eyes in the eye sockets, they have burst. But you can tell that they whatever it is locks eyes with you. And then turns and begins to run again. And a heartbeat later, you have lost whatever that was in the woods of the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And, I mean, as Kurt Becker rolls around in pain, he's able to put out the flames on his clothing, and Amish is able to get himself back to his feet. Max gets back to his feet, and for better or worse, you're all alive, but Marlene Baughman, or whatever took her form, is gone.
Woohoo! Alive!
I think Charlie is winning an award for living through.
I know.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. It's not over.
All right, you're right. It's not over. It's going to circle back and kill you specifically.
Yeah.
I'm sure that won't. I'm sure that won't bite us in the ass later that she's alive.
I mean, who knows?
So,
Only the shadow knows.
a badly burned Kurt Becker, a traumatized Max Baughman, a still calm and collected Blake Harrington, and a disappointed Eli Yoder are able to pull themselves back together over the course of a few more hours. You can treat Becker's burns.
Yep, that I'll definitely do.
You can, in fact, go ahead and roll your first aid for me.
Yep. Yay, a fumble!
Oh, wow!
So glad I made it worse.
Okay.
If Blake is around noticing that fumble, then she's gonna totally take over.
So
I am.
You try any
I'm sorry.
therapy on me, I'm gonna shoot you.
Captain Dan's got magic legs.
She knows some first aid.
Oh man, the one thing I'm actually good at.
So what I'm going to say here is that, let's see. I need to roll d4. 3.
Oh, God.
So go ahead and take 3 more points of damage for Kurt Becker. And what happened here is not that Eli couldn't do his job. He just didn't realize that when Marlene Baughman jumped out of that septic tank and splashed old water with a rotting human corpse in it all over Kurt Becker, as you were bandaging his wounds, some of that ick got in there. And he's going to have a nasty infection that is probably going to land him in the hospital. It's not going to be life-threatening by any means, but a bad burn turns into a worse infection and probably some pretty bad scars.
Yeah, and I'm not going to have the stuff to deal with an infection here. I mean, I doubt I carry antibiotics on me. So.
Yeah, well, and I mean, by the time you realize this is even a problem, you've already gotten him to the emergency room and everything. So
Yep.
you've done your job, and it just turns out after the fact that you need a second trip to the emergency room as your trip to the
Kurt
burn
does not
ward.
want to leave. Art does not want to leave that cabin until they burn
Oh, yeah.
to the fucking ground.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're gonna burn everything.
So, my question is, do any of you keep anything?
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
Kurt,
Yeah.
there was a cardboard box or something that had additional paperwork in it.
There was a cardboard box with a bloody suit. There was a pair of reel-to-reel tapes. There were some smoke grenades. Sorry, CS gas grenades.
Yeah. Yeah, Max wants one of them.
So he's going to pocket a CS grenade. Anything else?
Was there a file that was like 6 months in like 1972 or something?
Yeah, those were the
I thought there was
reel-to-reel
some
tapes.
additional
Okay.
It was a reel-to-reel.
Oh, Radio Shack got them. If I can pocket those, that'd be great.
You are absolutely not pocketing those.
Oh, son of a bitch!
Yeah.
You are
Feels like a
not.
roll-off to me.
I am pointing a gun straight in the middle of your fucking skull.
No, it
Bosnian,
sounds
you
like
are
a
not
roll-off
taking those.
for stealth versus search.
Yeah. Man.
Let me see what I got.
What do you want me to...
You go ahead and roll your search.
I don't. I probably shouldn't even try, but I'll roll it anyway.
Yeah, I just want to see if Kurt Becker would have ended up even noticing Max Baughman trying to take something.
Oh no!
And
I
Mr.
said-
Jasmine actually rolls the worst failure there. So, Kurt Becker unfortunately doesn't realize that anything is missing.
By the way, how big is a reel-to-reel film?
It's a good like 6 inches wide, but in the chaos, in the time when Eli is treating Kurt's burns and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that he definitely could have probably snuck
Yeah.
something into a jacket or something.
Or even knowing as he does exactly how reel-to-reel tape works, he knows that the reel itself doesn't matter. So he might even just unspool that tape, jam it in his pocket, and hope for the best.
Yeah, he's got all the machinery back at headquarters to fix this up.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Kurt's
Now you're
keeping
going to
the
be the
UFO
next mission.
photo. He's gonna chuck the written note from Max's dad. He's gonna burn the photo, but he's gonna hang on to that UFO photo.
Oh, I was
Right.
hoping somebody would keep that. I like that photo.
He immediately tucked that into his shirt before he even left the cabin.
All right.
Yeah,
You can go to the reel-to-reel of this episode and hear that I did say that I did that.
Indeed.
Yes, you did. Yeah, I remember you doing it.
I
No, I was just glad somebody grabbed it. It's a cool looking photo.
Yeah, and Eli doesn't keep anything. Specifically, he's angry that he wasn't able to finish the job, and moreover that there's somebody suffering and in a way that is unnatural that he couldn't put down. So
Yeah.
that's bad. And by the way, that's not something that he would keep. He would let everyone know they got away.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere in the forest. We're gonna have to form somebody.
And it's getting late, so I don't want to belabor the end of the operation too much here, but you do, as you were asked to, report whatever you decide to your handler, who doesn't want to hear about anything that you burned, doesn't want to hear about he doesn't want to hear details. He wants to know what happened. And am I wrong to assume that you would tell him that Marlene Baughman has escaped?
I would,
Okay.
unless someone would not allow me to.
No, I would.
Yeah, because Eli does everything as he should right now when dealing with Delta Green. So he doesn't distrust them. In fact, he very much wants to do the job. So he leaves nothing out.
Excellent. And your handler says that it's unfortunate, but that after describing what you found, he can't explain it any more than you can, but he has seen plenty of things that are difficult to explain, and he tells you that in your situation, you did as well as you could be expected. He also makes it a point to meet with and give the talk to Max Baughman. And to make it very clear that, like it or not, Max Baughman is now a member of J-Cell.
Jay.
Yeah, and he lets you know that, like, while the other agents know your real name, you know, he's you get the sense that he's very much all about the cloak and dagger kind of stuff, and he says it's a shame that the rest of the agents know your real name. Normally, we have you come up with a code name, starting with the first letter of your cell. Hence, Agent Jennifer, etc. He kind of shrugs and he says, I don't know how much point there is for you coming up with something like that. If you want to be Max, be Max.
I could just, it is like anime mind. He's like, Jackal.
That's awesome.
Oh boy, I can't wait to be at a hotel and be like, and now we have
Mr. Jackal?
It's
in 1992, he's calling himself the Jackal.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
You really shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Sorry, FBI or whoever's listening, I did not say anything. I take that back.
Yeah, and next time we'll deal with a pretty significant time jump up through 1996, and what your agents get up to in the process. But before we do that, and we'll have a week off in between while I make sure I get my head around our next operation. But before we leave, as you have been making rolls on Roll20, the sheet should have automatically checked a box next to each skill anytime you failed a roll with that skill. And now we can resolve those. And it's up to you if you want to do it quick and simple. There's a button at the bottom of your skills area on your character sheet. Looks like a power button, and you can just click that, and the sheet will do everything. Or you can roll 1d4 for each of those skills that you failed at, and add that many percentage points to each of those skills.
Oh, I think I'll try the power button. This sounds cool. Let's
Okay.
see.
Yeah, that's what I did.
All right. And
Yep. Oh,
And
I only got one in stealth. Oh.
athletics went up by 4. First aid only went up by 1. I learned nothing. I
After
learned to
what
check
you
for
did to me,
infection.
your first aid should go -1.
It should go horrific. You're the worst medic I've ever met.
Call you fourth aid. not first aid.
Well, despite my scars, I got 2 4s when I hit the power button, so I'll take it.
Nice. I don't think I had anything else that went up. I think that's the only thing I failed because I kicked.
What about
absolute butt.
what about my sanity going down? Did I get something for that?
Nope.
That's permanent.
Yeah, that's
just
permanent,
crazy.
and yeah, you're that much crazier unless you passed a breaking point, which I don't think you should have.
No,
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah, you got a pretty good amount before you get to your breaking point. So nothing permanent there. But I'm gonna leave everyone with one more thing. And I'm going to bring up Max's sheet for everyone to see, because I had you add Marlene Baughman as one of Max's bonds.
Yes, you did.
And about 3 weeks after all of this, you've gone home, you've gone back to your job. And we can talk more about, as we handle what happens at home, we can talk more about what Max actually gets up to. But, at some point he just goes back home and has to face real life. And as he's trying to pull his life back together, one day in late December, in fact, we'll say that it's Christmas Eve,
Oh,
his phone rings. And when he picks it up, there's a moment of silence, and then he just hears, Max? Max, is that you? And you hear the voice of your mother.
I just shivered, like literally. Shivered right down my spine.
And if she has anything to say about it, then your bond score is going to be going back up. But we'll come to that next time.
I literally shivered. I'm not kidding. I was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, that was.
amazing.
I'm honestly kind of glad I didn't offer. I mean, Eli hates it, but me as a player is like, she continues to be out there.
Yeah, it was cool. So again in 2 weeks, Colby.
Yeah, so we'll be off next week, and the week after is likely to mostly be downtime, and we'll maybe get into the beginning of our next operation. But yeah, be thinking about what your characters would be up to over the next 4 years, as we'll pick up with them again in 1996.
I will have to let you know because we might be getting into my working time.
Right. Yeah,
But,
let me
I
know.
will definitely keep you like minute to minute posted on that because I want to play again.
Absolutely. This is too good of an opportunity to waste.
Yeah.
And if you can't make it, we can always bring Max back in another operation down the road.
Yep.
I have an idea for him that I'll go over with you.
Amazing.
Maybe spend some time in a mental institution. Is that the idea?
I literally, well, not literally in real life, but I wouldn't mind doing that for just like a day.
Yeah.
You know, a little
you say that.
break. No, but then once I said it, I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. Yeah. Again,
Well-
sorry to who's ever listening.
Oh, no problem. And thank you all. Our current one viewer, hopefully more in the future. There is more to come from this campaign. It will be a couple of weeks before we meet again. But thank you for listening. Hope it was fun. And we'll see you in 1996.
Nice.